Chapter 2. Mel. "Stupid twat," I yelled. Some asshole in a blue Corolla had forced her way into line at the CVS drive-thru on Main Street. Because my anxiety has been increasing lately, I asked my doctor for a refill of Klonopin. I don't like depending on it, but sometimes the Lamictal isn't enough. After making sure I had a therapy session scheduled, as if there's anything new to discuss, she sent the prescription in. I spent the next 10 minutes drumming my fingers on the steering wheel and complaining out loud as the line edged forward. Finally, it was my turn, and before leaving the parking lot, I opened the bottle and washed down one little yellow pill with my iced latte. Getting to work wasn't too bad this time of year, in early June. The insanity that is Memorial Day weekend had just passed, and full-blown summer hadn't yet arrived. There's a precise correlation between my overall anxiety level and the start of tourist season, when zombie hordes of mainlanders begin swarming over the bridges. Even after years of dealing with it, I still dread the approach of summer. I made it to the parking lot outside the Orleans bureau office of the Cape Cod News, where I worked. It's in a weathered, old, home-turned office building built around the end of the 19th century. I had to climb the creaky stairs to get to our office on the second floor. Norm, the bureau chief, was already sitting at his computer, sipping the coffee, focused on his screen. I passed him in silence and dropped my bag onto the floor beside my desk. We had an agreement. No morning pleasantries, no smiles or cheerful good mornings until we had both our coffee. The only sound in the office was the hum of computers. The bureau office consisted of 4 rooms. The one we were in, a break room, a bathroom, in Norm's office. Since it was mostly just Norm and me, he set up his computer in the main room, which had 3 desks, some chairs, and a few filing cabinets. Our job was to cover the news on the lower Cape and send it back to the main office in the Hyannis. Norm spoke first.
"We're getting an intern."
I recognized that tone of voice and looked up. An intern? Why the hell would they send someone out here to intern?
"I'd guess they were fooling Hyannis. Or maybe they're trying to punish us."
I shook my head. What was an intern supposed to do out here? I did my internship at the Boston Globe, a place that felt like the center of everything. When I graduated from Wellesley College, an office building on the Cape was the last place I saw myself in. As a stepping stone to something bigger, sure, but the Globe, or anyone else, hadn't called. In my defense, there's more aspiring journalists than there are good jobs.
"She starts Wednesday."
They give us 2 days' notice. How generous. Who is it? I looked over at him. Tall and lanky with eccentric fashion choices and youthful blue eyes. His dry humor was probably the main reason I decided to work with him. Like me, he was overeducated for the job. But unlike me, he'd never left the Cape, so he knew practically everyone. He liked to pretend otherwise, but he really did care about the community.
"Her name is Mildred, and she has a degree in English Lit from Smith College. I met her on Friday. She's one of those earnestly healthy types, no refined sugars, Birkenstocks."
Denim sack dress and organic cotton socks? I finished.
"Speaking of socks, the hair on her legs is longer than my beard."
Well, clutch my imaginary pearls. Hairy legs in Smith College. Can this be possible?
"Swear to God."
He held the 2 fingers like a Boy Scout.
"I thought she was wearing Argyle socks."
The phone rang, and he answered it. In college, I read Joan Didion, Hunter S. Thompson, Ambrose Bierce, and thought one day I'd write like that. Instead, well, here are a few of the stories I've written in the past month or so. We're going to need a bigger boat. About the increase in great white sharks in the area. Where the grass is greener. Upcoming recreational marijuana sales. Back roads and byways. Favorite on Cape Cod destinations of local residents. Thoughtful, elegantly written prose. That dream seemed as dead as a Truro beach in winter. I stared at my computer. A screensaver, the dripping green code lines from the Matrix, kicked in. I moved the mouse to end it and opened the mail server. I saw the usual batch of spam, stuff from the mailing lists I subscribed to, and something from my brother. He lives by himself out near the beach in Truro. The header read, "You will believe what I saw." I was about to open it when Norm walked up and handed me a piece of paper. "Seriously?" I said, after reading it. "A sea monster washed up in Brewster? What mind-altering substance was he on? Norm's expression didn't change. Nothing better happened over the weekend. Norm rubbed his beard.
Cheer up, you get to leave the office and go to the beach. The eyewitnesses are there now.
A sea monster. Okay, fine. I look at my inbox again, hoping to find something more compelling. But the only legitimate item was a notification of upcoming local Independence Day events. No reprieve. I grabbed a camera, put it in my bag, and made a lot of noise leaving. On my way out the door, Norm yelled,
"Bring back some donuts."
About half an hour later, mileage becomes irrelevant during the summer here. It's all about the traffic backups. I pulled into the parking lot of the Crosby Landing Beach. I got out of the car and saw a small group of people several yards from shore and surmised they were gawking at the sea monster. The beach is part of a large tidal flat. At low tide, the water recedes an unbelievable distance from shore, exposing mudflats and sandbars, and things that get stranded on sandbars. As I walked towards the people, I saw a large grayish thing lying in the mud. As I approached with camera and bag, one of the people spotted me and pointed. He whacked a guy standing beside him and yelled,
"Holy shit, it's Fox 25 News!"
Everyone turned to look.
"Lenny, I told you Fox News would want to cover this."
"Hello, I'm Melissa Howard from the Cape Cod News," I said, feeling like I'd let everyone down. Undeterred, he stuck out a grubby hand and, when he saw my hesitation, he wiped it on his stained tank top.
"Sorry, I've been chopping that bait. I'm Ralph and this is my buddy Lenny. We was getting ready to go out fishing and Lenny here had over the radio how some monster thing had washed up on the beach and we had to come see. I mean, look at this fucking thing."
I picked up the camera and moved closer. It was about the size of a truck tire, gray in color, and the one eye I could see had the opacity of death. Maybe the experts can't agree what causes these strandings, although in this case, it probably got caught in the shallows when the tide receded. I sighed and turned to my audience. It's a sunfish. Everyone started talking at once.
"I told you so,"
A woman said.
"A sunfish?"
Someone repeated.
"Nah, that ain't no sunfish. Those things are tiny."
A voice behind me interrupted.
The ocean sunfish are common mola, is the heaviest known bony fish in the world. Adults typically weigh between 247 and 1,000 kilograms. The species is native to tropical and temperate waters around the globe. It resembles a fish head with a tail, and its main body is flattened laterally.
I turned to see a slightly overweight 30-something guy in a Nintendo t-shirt. He looked up from his iPhone as if expecting applause.
Wikipedia.
"Alrighty," I replied, turning back to the fish. "Would everyone mind stepping back so I can get a good photo?" I snapped a couple from different angles.
"Hey, how about one with me and Lenny here? You know, for scale."
"You guys found the fish?" I asked.
"Yes, ma'am."
Lemmy replied, speaking up for the first time. He wore a blue t-shirt that had Wicked Tuna stamped over a patriotic fish, and around his neck was a gold religious medallion that said St. Andrew, pray for us. "Okay, go ahead, stand there," I pointed in back of the fish. They jostled each other, almost stepping out a fin, before deciding to go for the bromance pose, arms around each other's necks.
"Lenny here thought it was a fucking turtle."
He rubbed his friend's head.
"Well, you said it was a baby whale."
"Dude."
"Did anyone call Fish and Wildlife? The police? Anyone?" I asked.
We didn't.
Said the guy with the iPhone. "Great. Okay then. Thanks for your help." As I headed towards the car, I mentally chanted, "The press needs the public. The press needs the public."
"Don't you want our names?"
Ralph called after me. "Ralph and Lenny, right?"
"Leonard Sheehan and Raphael Moss from Revere."
Rat stopped me. "Raphael?"
"Yeah, you know, like the painter."
He shrugged.
"My mother was Italian."
I was about 10 minutes from the office when my phone rang. The caller ID showed it to be Norm.
"Hey, how's the monster chasing?"
"Haha," I said. "Dead sunfish and two bros from Revere."
"Well, don't head back just yet. I have another one for you."
When he guessed, someone spotted a mermaid sunning with the seals on Monomoy Island.
Even better, we have multiple reports of a UFO sighting in Truro last night.
I hit my brakes hard to avoid slamming into the back of a boat on a trailer. The boat's name, Indecent Seas, filled my windshield. "Are you serious?"
It just popped up on their police website.
I pulled over into a parking lot filled with inflatable pool chairs and boogie boards. Called up the Truro police website on my iPad and went to their dispatch log page. Listed amongst the traffic stops for that day were time 2:05, unidentified flying object observed, location North Pammon, Officer Anderson, time 2:16, unidentified flying object observed, location Pammon Marsh, Officer Wright. I always talked to the police to get the facts straight on townie stories, so I knew Officer Anderson. I spoke to him the previous weekend about the big scuffle in a Wellfleet Beachcombers parking lot. His number was already on my phone. I hit dial and waited for someone to answer. A male voice picked up and said,
Yeah?
"Hey, this is Mel from the Cape Cod News. Is this Officer Anderson?"
Hey, Melissa. How's Dorn holding up?
"He's doing fine. I have a couple of questions for you."
Shoot.
"I saw the UFO report from last night. Can you tell me what you saw?"
I thought someone would be calling about that. What I saw was a group of lights on the horizon moving towards Gull Pond.
"When did you first see it?"
Around 2 a.m., I heard the report over the radio, and since I wasn't too far away, I decided to check it out. When I first saw it, it just looked like a row of white lights. I assumed it was a plane of some sort, but when I got closer, I didn't see any wings or tail. It was moving very slowly on the horizon, slower than a plane would.
"How long did the sighting last?"
I watched it for about 2 minutes before it headed out towards the ocean. You really want to speak to Officer Wright. He got a good view of what was going on. You want his number?
I entered it into my phone, said, "Okay, thanks," and ended the call. I dialed Officer Wright's number. He rang twice. Then a somber voice said,
Hello?
"Hello, this is Melissa Howard from the Cape Cod News. Officer Anderson gave me your number. Can I ask you some questions about the UFO you saw last night?" There was a long pause. "Hello?"
Have you spoken to anyone else about this?
"Just Officer Anderson."
What did he say?
He described an object with lights and suggested I call you as you got a better look at it. I heard him exhale like he'd been holding his breath.
Okay. I'm not on duty right now. You know Arnold's?
"Yes.
I can meet you there.
I'm in my car now. I can be there in 5 or 10 minutes." I hung up. Arnold's is a roadside seafood joint on Route 6 in Eastham. They have good clam rolls, but everything is ridiculously pricey. I pulled into the parking lot, my tires crunching over the crushed seashell driveway. I parked my cart and headed for the entrance. I saw Officer Wright sitting outside by himself at a picnic table. He was out of uniform, so it took a few seconds to register that it was him. The last time I saw him, he was on duty, and I was asking him about a fatal accident near this part of Route 6. He was holding a cup of coffee and had a box of fried scallops in front of him. I sat down at his table. He glanced at me and mumbled,
Hey, Melissa.
then went back to studying his coffee cup. I took out my notebook, put her on the table, and said, "I understand you saw something last night?" He leaned backwards, then shook his head and put his head down. I thought for a moment he was done talking. He kept turning his cup around in his hands.
Somebody called in, saying he'd seen something the size of a 2-story house floating in the sky out by Ballston Beach.
When did he get this call?
Just a little before 2 a.m. When I heard that, the first thing I asked dispatch was, is the caller DUI? She said he was serious. Since I was in the vicinity, I turned onto North Payment Road. When I got close to Payment Hollow, I saw a row of lights approaching me, just over the trees. I assumed it was an aircraft, maybe a plane in distress that was coming in too low. I asked dispatch to contact Otis to see if they had anything in the air. As I got closer, I could see that it wasn't an aircraft, at least not any kind I'm familiar with, and I grew up in the Air Force.
Otis is the informal name for the Joint Base Cape Cod. Until the mid-'70s, it was known as Otis Air Force Base. Now the biggest tenants are the Coast Guard and the Air National Guard. There are still some military aircraft coming and going, but it's not what it used to be when the Air Force had F-15s out there. "What do these lights look like?" I asked them. He took another sip of coffee and put his cup down.
There were 2 rows of bright white lights along each side, in the shape of a V.
He paused and looked up at me.
The object was silent. I couldn't estimate its height, but it was large, bigger than a 747, much bigger.
I nodded as I quickly scribbled some notes. "How long did you see it?"
I never took my eyes off of it. I got back in the radio and told dispatch I had the object in sight. She wasn't too happy with me, and they told her they had nothing at all in the air that night. I told her I was looking right at it and described it to her.
He smiled quickly, shook his head.
Yeah, she gave me the Twilight Zone music.
He pulled the prescription bottle out of his pocket and shook an oblong white pill into the palm of his hand. I recognized it as Xanax. He saw me looking at it.
Ulcers.
He said, shrugging. I understood. Ulcers are more respectable than anxiety, especially for a male. He washed down the pill with a big gulp of coffee.
I've heard these kind of reports of UFOs, but I've always been skeptical.
He shook his head.
You never really know what it's like until you see it for yourself.
When did you lose sight of the object?
It did a slight turn and headed towards Hanging Valley. It wasn't going that fast, so I was able to follow it as far as the beach parking lot before it headed out over the ocean.
So what do you think he saw?
There were no commercial aircraft flying over the area. We're not in their flight paths. And out at the military base, the only things left are Coast Guard helicopters and a few search and rescue planes.
He paused for a moment and then stared out beyond the parking lot.
I don't know what else to tell you. I don't know what I saw.
I thanked Officer Wright for his time. As I was walking back to my car, I got a text message from my brother.
Brian, I saw a UFO.